Welcome, friends, for our session on detecting the ground fault in a sensitive configuration of the system, and by the methods that we discussed: first method, second method, third method, fourth method. And on the fifth method, we said that we are using the harmonics of the zero sequence components. In this session, we had 3 sessions yet. Until 4, we discussed the first session. We discussed about that how the blocks works, how it starts. The second session, we discussed about angle determination between the two and also the required inputs for the direction determination. In the third session, we discussed more about this stabilization counter, and we discussed about this direction determination areas, how these values should be given, how much they are, and we discussed that the V0 is rotated, and this is the harmonics of zero sequence current, harmonics of zero sequence voltage, the angle between the two, and we discussed about the reverse forward direction and also intermediate direction. In this session, we will discuss about the direction result extension, that sometimes we need that our direction it is selected. For example, our zero sequence current, the harmonics of zero sequence current fall in this area, and our system detects that it's a forward direction. Now, due to some of the changes in the system and some of the conditions, maybe this 3I0, this stage of fall below the threshold, or it changes into reverse direction. So we want that on that conditions of the transient, the result of the direction which is determined, that result should be stable. And we give around 5 seconds as a default. We can give any time, but we give as a default it is 5 seconds. That for 5 seconds it remains as it is, means that whenever the zero sequence, the harmonics of zero sequence current falls below this threshold, which is around 0.03 amperes, 0.03 amperes, it is this threshold. When it falls below this threshold, the output of this comparison is 0, so this 0 will be supplied to the AND gate, and even we have the output from the zero sequence voltage or not, the output will be 0, and this 0 will be supplied to the direction extension result. If this timer block be 0, then the output becomes 0, so this 0 is supplied here, and our direction will not be stable. Our direction determined direction will not be holded. So this direction determination process will start again, and it will be resetted. But when we give this, for example, 5 seconds, during this 5 seconds, if the harmonics of zero sequence current fall below its threshold value, or its dropout ratio, which is 0.60, this dropout ratio is, if it falls below that threshold, also for 5 seconds, it will, our direction, which is determined by the system, that direction is, it is our determined direction, and the system will not define a new direction. But okay, accordingly, for the harmonics of zero sequence voltage, if it is for unknown or anything, this signal is, for example, 0, and during this 5 seconds, this result, which is previously determined, this will be holded. But whenever it goes beyond that threshold, beyond these thresholds values, beyond this threshold value and beyond this threshold value, immediately without waiting for 5 seconds, then the new direction will be supplied to the system. It means now the new direction will be detected by the system, and the new 5 seconds time will be determined, and it will be started for this block of timer. What we have not discussed is this threshold of V0 threshold. This is what we discussed previously in the previous methods, that is 0.02 into root 3 into V rated of secondary of this VTs. It's around 20 volts, this threshold. We give this as a default around 20 volts. And forward and reverse section area determination, that delta phi, that is 80 degrees plus and minus. And this threshold we discussed, dropout ratio we discussed. And delay time, this is for the system which has more transients, and that the transient maybe disrupt our system, and it will our system will be started for reset and or anything. So we give some time. For default it is 0, but we can have around 5 to 10 milliseconds for a direction determination delay. And these values we have discussed before in the previous sessions. Selection of direction and reverse direction, also it is discussed in the previous sessions. And the main point which remains, that now we have whatever it is, we have the supply for the stabilizing against the intermediate ground fault. If there is intermediate ground fault, it should be stabilized. If it passed this stabilization process, then it is shown to the system that there is a ground fault. And compare with the set direction, which direction it should operate, which direction it should pick up. We select whether it should operate in forward direction fault or in reverse direction faults. And there is operate delay. Operate delay, it is around 1 second. It is default. You can apply yourself delay that you want. If you have not subscribed our channel, please subscribe our channel and help us providing you more free educational training for you, and share the video with your friends. Hope you all great lags. And what the remaining point is about the blocks with the intermediate ground fault, block with measuring the voltage failure and the healthy conditions. It will block and reset the operation, the process.